There's been 70 World Series MVPs, including multiple co-MVPs dating back to 1955, but only one has won the MVP while playing for the losing team. In a series that was completely lopsided towards the Yankees statistically, all that mattered was the Pirates won 4 games. And for Bobby Richardson, it didn't matter that his team lost 4 of those games, as he was still able to win World Series MVP. So let's look at how and why Bobby Richardson became the only World Series MVP to lose the World Series.
Totally sports-esque. Major League.
The Yankees dominated the 50s, and in the first year of the 60s, they were still dominant. They won 97 games to easily win the American League again, as Roger Maris won his first MVP after finishing 1 home run short of 40, while leading the league in RBIs, slug, and WAR. And for the 5th time in 6 years, and the 10th time in 12 years, the Yankees were going to the World Series, against a team that hadn't made the World Series since 1927, where they lost to the Yankees, that being the Pittsburgh Pirates. With the likes of Roberto Clemente, Dick Groat, Hal Smith, Roy Face, and Vern Law, the Pirates had their 3rd straight winning season, this time being enough to top the National League for the first time in 33 years, winning 95 games as Dick Groat won MVP. So despite having a strong team, the Yankees were naturally heavy favorites. With the lineup with 3 future Hall of Famers at the heart of the order, 5 former or future MVPs, all the World Series experience, the best pitching in the American League, and all the prestige, it's not surprising that one side was so heavily favored. And throughout the series, it was clear that one team was better, but it's the best of 7 for a reason. The best thing the Pirates had going in Game 1 was Casey Stengel making the surprising move to start Art Ditmar over Whitey Ford. Ditmar was just a little better than Ford that year, but the future Hall of Famer in Ford had already started 12 World Series games to that point, throwing 77 innings with a 2.81 ERA. But Stengel decided to appreciate Art and decided to start him. Meanwhile, the Pirates had a no-brainer in who to start, in Vern Law, who would go on to win Cy Young that year. In the first of Game 1, the AL MVP would take the Cy Young winner deep to give the Yankees a 1-0 lead, but that lead didn't last long, as the NL MVP in Dick Groat drove in the tying run on a double in the bottom of the first. He scored on a Bob Skinner single, and Roberto Clemente drove in Skinner on a single, after he stole second. And that was enough for Stengel to pull Ditmar, who wouldn't even make it out of the first inning. Jim Coates came in, and he wouldn't give up any more runs. Then the Yankees cut the lead in half in the 4th with a Bill Skowron single, but the Pirates would extend their lead to 3 in the bottom half when Bill Mazeroski hit a 2-run home run. The Pirates would add another in the 6th, and despite a late rally, Roy Face secured a 6-4 win in the first game. In Game 2 would again not see Whitey Ford, and instead saw Bob Turley go against Bob Friend. And while the first 2 innings were scoreless, things changed in a hurry. The Yankees scored 2 in the 3rd, and Turley helped his own cause by driving in a run in the 4th. The Pirates would score a run, but in the 5th, Mickey Mantle hit a 2-run home run, and by the end of the 6th, the Yankees were up 12-1, and it would become 15-1 when Mickey Mantle hit his 2nd home run of the game in the 7th inning, this being a 3-run home run. The Yankees wound up scoring 16 runs with 19 hits, actually only 6 more than the Pirates, as they wound up winning 16-3, with Bobby Shantz getting credited with the save after heroically preserving a 13-run lead. And these 2 games gave a preview of the entire series. The Pirates won a close one that went down to the wire in Game 1, then Game 2 saw a Yankees blowout, with the Yankees recording 32 hits for the first 2 games, with Tony Kubek leading the team so far with 6 hits. And as things went to New York, it was more of the same. On the mound was someone named Vinegar Ben Mizell, and the Yankees would make Vinegar salty when they jumped on him in the first inning. 4 of the first 5 batters got on, with Bob Cerf scoring, and like Ditmar in Game 1, Vinegar did not make it out of the first inning. Clem Levine came in, and he proceeded to give up an RBI single. Then Bobby Richardson, who had hit just 1 home run during the season, proceeded to hit a grand slam to give the Yankees a 6-0 lead. There wouldn't be a first-inning grand slam in the World Series again until Adam Duvall did so in 2021. And for the fans who were smarter than everyone and wanted Whitey Ford to go in Game 1, this was their justification, as he would proceed to throw a complete game shutout, aided by the additional 4 runs the Yankees scored in the 4th, with Mantle's 3rd home run of the series, and Richardson driving in a 6-runner of the game, as the Yankees again won the game by double digits. At that point, they had outscored the Pirates 32-7, recording 48 hits along the way, so it appeared the Pirates just got lucky in Game 1, and things were probably not going back to Pittsburgh. But again, the Pirates reminded everyone that they needed to win 4 games, not just score the most runs. And the one task with trying to cool the Yankees' offense was Game 1 starter Vern Law, who was going against Rolf Terry. For the first time, there was a pitching duel. The first run wouldn't be scored until the bottom of the 4th, when Bill Skowron hit a solo home run. But the Pirates responded in the 5th with 2 on and 2 outs. Vern Law helped himself and tied the game with a double to match Daisuke Matsuzaka in World Series RBIs. And then a 2-run single gave the Pirates a lead, and Law will continue to lay the law. Bobby Richardson drove in the Yankees' 2nd run on a fielder's choice, and Law would be taken out in the 7th. and he was relieved by Roy Face, who would pitch the final 2.2 innings to record his second save of the series and ensure things went back to Pittsburgh. And in Game 5, the Yankees' Game 1 starter, Art Didmar, was back on the mound, and he was better than his Game 1 start, as this time he was pulled in the second inning instead of the first inning, the first run of the second being scored on an error by Gil McDougall from an accurate throw from Tony Kubek, which would have ended the inning. Then, of course, Bill Mazeroski would lace a double that drove in 2 runs, which would then end Didmar's day. Harvey Haddix was on the mound for the Pirates, this 1 year after he famously lost a perfect game in the 13th inning, and he gave up his first run in the bottom of the second when Kubek drove in Elson Howard on a groundout after he doubled. But the Pirates added a run in the third on a Roberto Clemente single, and even though Roger Maris had his second home run of the series in that inning, Haddix held the Yankees to just those 2 runs. And just like the previous day, Roy Face pitched the final 2.2 scoreless innings to pick up the save and give the Pirates a 3-2 series lead. Face had picked up a 2-inning save in all 3 of the Pirates' wins, and in their 3 wins, they won by scores of 2, 1, and 3. Meanwhile, the Yankees won both other games by double digits. But it didn't matter, as the Pirates were now just 1 win away from the World Series as things went back to Pittsburgh. With the season on the line, Whitey Ford was back on the mound, and the criticism Stengel got for not pitching Ford in Game 1 gets even further backed up here. Him and Bob Friend pitched a scoreless first, but the Yankees took the lead in the second, continuing the trend with a pitcher helping himself as Whitey Ford hit an RBI single for the lead. Then the next inning, the Yanks blew the game open. Mantle hit a 2-run single, a Skowron sac fly drove in a run, then a Bobby Richardson triple made things 6-0. And it was pretty obvious where things were going from here. The Yankees added 2 in the 6th, 7th, and 8th, with Richardson hitting another RBI triple, this being his 12th RBI of the series, and Ford driving in another run, as Ford threw his second shutout of the series, as the Yankees would go on to win 12-0, their third double-digit win of the series, recording at least 16 hits in all 3 of those games. And while not starting Ford in Game 1 was mentioned, it's the game here that gave Stengel the most criticism. Many felt that once the Yankees took a comfortable lead, they should have just taken Ford out, so he had the possibility to pitch in Game 7. But he was no longer available now after throwing the entire game, and had Ford pitched Game 1, he most likely would have pitched Game 4 and this Game 7, or he would have started Game 5 and would have had the opportunity to come out of the bullpen in Game 7. But again, the complete game Game 6 ruled that out. But with all the blowouts and the close games won by the Pirates, things were now tied at 3, setting up for a Game 7 that was a mixture of the first 6. A lot of offense and a tight game that would go down as one of the best games ever. Vern Law was making his 3rd start of the series, and he went up against Bob Turley. And it was the Pirates who struck first, scoring 2 in the first, after Rocky Nelson hit the first Pirates home run since Mazeroski in Game 1. And Turley had a short leash, as for the 3rd time, a Yankee starter was pulled before the end of the second, being taken out after facing 1 batter in the second. Bill Stafford came in and loaded the bases before he got a double play. Bill Verdon's single gave the Pirates a 4-0 lead. Law would keep the Yankees scoreless until the 5th, when Bill Skowron hit his second home run of the series, with a leadoff solo home run. Then the next inning, after Law put the first 2 on, he was pulled for Roy Face, who was ready to face the rest of the game. He got an out, then Mickey Mantle cut the deficit down to 2 with an RBI single. Then Yogi Berra, who was playing his 7th game of the World Series, but hit a massive 3-run home run, which gave the Yankees a 1-run lead. No runs scored in the 7th. Then, in the top of the 8th, the Yankees added to the lead with an RBI single and an RBI double by Cleve Boyer to put the Yankees up 7-4 and give them a 94% chance to win the game. But the Pirates put themselves right back in after 3 straight singles to start the bottom of the 8th, including an RBI single by Dick Grote. And after a bunt and a flyout, Pirates had 2 outs with runners on 2nd and 3rd, with Roberto Clemente up to bat. He would then hit an infield single that looks a little similar to a recent play, and that play would score a run and bring the Pirates within 1, and that brought up Hal Smith. Smith actually didn't start the game, as he replaced catcher Smokey Burgess, who was pinch ran for by Joe Christopher. So in Smith's first at-bat, he'll go up against Jim Coates, who'll go up in the count 1-2 before he threw a ball. Then on the 5th pitch of the at-bat, he would send the ball over the fence to put the Pirates up 9-7, adding 63.52% to the Pirates' championship win probability, the most ever on one single play. And what added to the importance of the home run and the craziness of the game is what happened in the top of the 9th. After the Yankees led off the inning with 2 singles, Harvey Haddix came into the game looking to give the Pirates their 3rd title. With 1 out, Mickey Mantle would drive in a run to make it a 1-run game with runners on the corners. Then, in a rather strange play, Yogi Berra would hit a grounder to first. Rocky Nelson would touch first, and somehow, Mantle made it back safely to first. Meanwhile, pinch runner Gil McDougall would score the tying run. Rolf Terry, who ended the 8th for the Yankees, was still on the mound to start the 9th. And coming to bat in a 9-9 game in the bottom of the 9th, was the Pirates second baseman Bill Mazeroski, who wore number 9. With the wild events that occurred before that inning, Mazeroski forgot that he was leading off the inning, and the Pirates first base coach had to remind him, and he would quickly grab his bat. Then after taking a pitch, Mazeroski would hit one 406 feet over the left center wall, and he would proceed to dance around the bases like a school kid. As the Pirates won the World Series, and Mazeroski remains the only player to hit a walk-off home run in Game 7 of the World Series. This was simply one of the greatest and wildest World Series of all time, and beyond frustrating for the Yankees, who completely dominated the series, outscoring the Pirates 55-27. But the Pirates got to 4 first, and that's all that matters. But how the Yankees dominated the series and looked to be cruising midway through Game 7 was very important who got the World Series MVP. Many who only know about Mazeroski's home run in regards to this series probably assume he was also World Series MVP, hitting arguably the biggest home run in baseball history, and also hitting .320 while being the only Pirate to hit multiple home runs in the series. And if not him, then they assume it went to another Pirate, considering in the sports world, it's almost definite that a series MVP will be on the winning team. Candidates like Roberto Clemente, who could have won his first World Series MVP after he had the most hits, or Roy Face, who saved 3 games for them, but they would be wrong, as the MVP of the series went to Yankee second baseman Bobby Richardson, who in the series hit .367 with a 1.054 OPS, hitting 5 extra base hits, with a World Series record of 12 RBIs, a record that wouldn't be touched until literally last Wednesday, when Freddie Freeman destroyed that team that Richardson played for. Only in 2024, Freeman was on the winning team. And of course, the decision was controversial, but there's a big reason for it. Back then, all the votes for World Series MVP had to be submitted by the 8th inning of Game 7, I guess so they could know right away, but that still makes absolutely no sense. Either way, you have to consider that the Yankees were winning by the time those votes had to be submitted. Yogi Berra had just hit that massive 3-run home run, and the way the Yankees were playing, it looked like there was little chance that they would lose. But when you think about it in this sense, you could still argue that Richardson did not deserve it. There's Whitey Ford, who threw 2 shutouts, and the player who was still in second for most RBIs in the World Series, and also played in the series, and Mickey Mantle, who had 11 RBIs. Mantle would also hit .400 with 3 home runs, a 1.345 OPS, while adding 36.68% to the Yankees' championship win probability. Richardson added negative 3.42%. Obviously no one was calculating it there, but another thing is that Mantle's 11th RBI came after the votes were submitted, and that was with 1 out in the top of the 9th, and he made that miraculous play to slide back in the first that tied things. It's almost certain that Mazeroski would have won MVP if the vote was after the game, although you could still argue for Mantle considering his value. But Mantle goes down as one of those who you can argue deserved MVP despite being on the losing team, while Mazeroski is the only one who can say deserved MVP over a player on the losing team. But there's been many like Mantle. Shoeless Joe Jackson held records for a while after the 1919 World Series, where he hit .375 with a .956 OPS. In a World Series his team was literally trying to lose. In 1968, Bob Gibson threw 3 complete games, but the only one he lost was the Game 7. Thurman Munson hit .529 with a 1.059 OPS in the 1976 World Series that the Yankees lost to the Reds. Willie Aikens hit .400 with 4 home runs, 8 RBIs, a 1.638 OPS, and the most win probability added ever in a World Series, while his teammate Amos Otis hit .478 with 3 home runs, and what ultimately was a losing effort for the Royals. Marty Barrett tied the record with 13 hits in one series in 1986 for the Red Sox, and funny enough, he tied Bobby Richardson in 1964 and Lou Brock in 1968. All 3 of those players were on the losing team in the World Series. Lenny Dykstra had 4 home runs in the 1993 World Series for the Phillies. Then 9 years later, Barry Bonds would also hit 4 home runs with a 2.022 OPS. Then 7 years after that, Chase Utley became the second player after Reggie Jackson in 1977 to hit 5 home runs in one World Series. But the Phillies lost as Hideki Matsui hit .615. And you wonder if somehow the Cardinals were able to win Game 6 and 7 in 2013, with David Ortiz with a .688 average still won MVP, probably the strongest case a player could have. But ultimately, there's little chance that we see what happened with Bobby Richardson again, and you have to mention how voters voted in this time because that's the only way he could have won. In a very strange series where the team that played way better would lose the series. But Richardson goes down with Jerry West and Chuck Howley, and in all 3 times it was in the early days of the award being given out, making it very unlikely that we will ever see another player on a losing team win the series MVP. And it continues to this day, as someone like Zach Greinke can hit .667 in the World Series and not even be considered for World Series MVP. Hopefully you liked this video, and if so, please consider liking and subscribing for new videos every week. Thank you.